My name's Senior Constable Brian Allan. I'm a police officer at the Keilor Downs Police Station. I can remember back in 2020 on the 16th of June, I attended a stabbing at the Brimbank Library. There was some trouble at the shopping centre the day before, and security had called up and said that the youth was there again. We were talking to security in the shopping centre, and the job come through for the stabbing. We ran from where our position, about 200 metres to the library, and as we've come around the corner, observed a young man on the ground. One of our other police units were at the scene at the same time and had started CPR on that young man. I jumped in, the three of us rotated through doing CPR until the ambulance arrived. It was evident that he was in a lot of trouble, and we tried our best to keep him going. Ambulance arrived along with Micah and continued to do compressions, but you could see that it was not going to be ending well. At the same time, family and friends were turning up. There was his school friends at the scene as well. It turned into a chaos. There was police units everywhere. We continued with the CPR while the rest of the police attempted to keep everyone at bay and let us do our job along with the ambos. He had a nice school blazer on. My son wears the same blazer, same age. He's gone to school, finished school, gone to the shopping centre, and now he's not gone home. There's been an altercation, and yeah, he's not going home. So 8 hours beforehand he was at home leaving, saying bye mum, going to school, and yeah, 8 hours later we've got family on the scene. They're traumatised. They've just seen the young man leave them. His church was across the road. The look on the faces of the three of us trying to do CPR, ambulance, the micers, everyone knew it was not good, and such a senseless act. A group of kids had confronted him, chased him, and one of them decided that they would use the knife that they carry on them, because they say it's to protect themselves, to inflict the wound on him. Unfortunately, we have an era of younger people carrying knives with them now, and at any one time they're happy to try and use them to defend themselves in a conflict. It is a total waste of life. It affects family, friends. The emergency services deal with this nearly every day. Somewhere around Victoria they deal with it every day. And you just look at it, it's a senseless act. It can cost people serious injury or their life. We have to go home to our families afterwards. I went home that night, spoke to my wife, spoke to my son. And you just live with it, and you think, how would I feel if I was informed that my son had just been stabbed, and he wasn't coming home with me. It's not something that any person wants to go through. And something that everyone needs to realise, that there is a consequence for a lot of people just from one silly action. The kids now, they become desensitised to what the repercussions are of what could happen. The possibility that someone could die from even a little stab to the wrong area of the body. I'll stab someone in the leg. We've got arteries in the legs, and they bleed out very quickly. Little things like that, not intended, but can happen. And unfortunately, someone can lose their life out of it. The perception from the greater community is that groups of kids are there to cause trouble, which is not always the case. No, young people like to be young people. They like to be independent and like to get out and do things. Unfortunately, they get labelled as troublemakers when it's not always the case. But because we have so much let's say, physical violence in the community from the younger generation, unfortunately all of them get tarnished with the same brush. I can tell you exactly my movements on that day, probably how long it took me to run from the shopping centre to the young man, the amount of rotations we've done, CPR, the look on everyone's faces, the ambulance and the mica, when it was evident to them that was going to be it, going over and telling my sergeant that, yeah, unfortunately that's all that we can do for the young man. Watching the family and their reaction, realising that the young man's not coming home tonight. That's it. It is surreal, and it does stay with you. It doesn't leave. The average human lives to 80 to 82 years old. He still had 60 odd years on average of life ahead of him, and cruelly taken away just through, I don't know what the background was leading up to it, but it is a senseless act that's cost this young man his life. Ask yourself why you're carrying the knife. If your answer is to protect yourself, you're hanging around the wrong group of people. The majority of our community do not carry knives, are not threatening. They're everyday people trying to live a life. If you're hanging around the wrong groups, then you'll be more likely to feel that you're being threatened and carry the knife. The knife is not the solution. You carry a knife, it doesn't become an argument or a fist fight, which has happened in the past. It now becomes an edged weapon fight where both parties can equally be affected. And an innocent bystander can be affected as well. So yeah, it needs to be addressed that we just don't carry the knives anymore. It's not the answer to anything. It doesn't make you a stronger person. It actually makes you a gutless person. The victim is not just the person that's injured. The victims become the family, the first responders, everyone that has to see and try and help in that situation become victims themselves. It doesn't leave them. It plays on their mind forever and a day. So yeah, that little action that you've got has got a huge repercussion on the rest of the people that are associated with that young person. Yeah, so we just need to cut the violence.